Now this list is in no particular order, they are just 5 of my favourite games, and they will include some games that you do know and some games that you're not expecting. First on the list is Advance Wars, an absolutely amazing wartime strategy game that has been designed specifically for the Game Boy Advance hardware. And in doing so, they created a perfectly pocketable, on-the-go game that gives you an amazing challenge. I've always been a huge fan of strategy games, but sometimes it can be a bit too complex, and the idea of something like that on a handheld system can be a bit overwhelming. But Advance Wars perfectly captures that challenge and strategy while making it easy to pick up and go. I got absolutely addicted to this amazing game and trying to take on all the challenges that it presents. Advance Wars is an absolutely superb game that any Game Boy Advance player should own. And although prices are creeping up, the good news is that it's not terribly expensive right now. Next up is a game that I've only just started playing through the 30-day Game Boy Advance challenge, and it really took me by surprise, and that's Kim Possible. I got Kim Possible in a bundle of Game Boy Advance games I got a couple of years ago, and I kept a hold of it because I always used to really like the TV show. But when I first started playing this, I got instantly hooked with its simplistic but really addictive beat-em-up style gameplay. The levels are nice and quick, which is perfect for a handheld system. And the level design is done in a way where the challenge grows nicely as you progress through the game. Playing through Kim Possible, I couldn't stop thinking about Batman the Brave and the Bold on the Nintendo Wii. Another great fun beat 'em up that really captures the essence of fun gameplay. And something about Kim Possible really reminds me of that as well. A series of bad guys which are familiar from the TV show, a series of puzzles and challenges which are really fun to try and navigate, and a moveset which is actually a lot deeper than it initially seemed. As you play through the game, you find out different moves to help you navigate the area, and it turns into a really fun and addictive challenge. Not a long game to complete, but Kim Possible can be found for dirt cheap, and a really great game to add into your collection if you've not tried it yet. Next up is an absolute classic, and that's Mario vs Donkey Kong. I was a huge fan of Donkey Kong back on the Game Boy, the game which at first seemed like just traditional Donkey Kong, but before you know it changes into an absolutely amazing and fantastic Mario puzzle game. Being a huge fan of Donkey Kong, I expected a lot from Mario vs Donkey Kong, and I was not disappointed. It captures everything that was amazing about that original game and throws in an amazing splash of colour, an actually genuinely funny storyline, and loads of new levels and twists to keep you entertained and to keep you guessing, presenting you with really interesting levels and really interesting ideas. It feels like almost every single level is introducing a new trick and a new concept for you to deal with and to try and challenge you as you navigate each section, and what has been the game that has taken up the most time so far on my 30-day Game Boy Advance challenge. It's needless to say that Nintendo know how to make an amazing game, but Mario vs Donkey Kong is near perfection when it comes to bite-sized portable gaming, and like all games on this list, it will not break the bank. Next up is a game that really took me by surprise, and that is Cars on the Game Boy Advance. It's no lie, I absolutely love Disney games, and the Cars series of games have always been one of my favourite, but I've not played many of the handheld ones. And when I was playing on my Mii U Mini a few months back, I saw Cars on the list and thought, well, I'll check it out. But I'm not gonna lie, I fully expected it to be trash and just some kind of caching kind of game. But before I knew it, I was completely addicted and couldn't put the game down until I completed it. Cars is a top-down racer, which is kind of a bit like Micro Machines. But in the game, you play as Lightning McQueen and you go through a series of races, most of them which are at Rusty Springs, but towards the end you get to compete in the Piston Cup as well. And the fun, addictive nature of this racing game is something I really didn't expect. It's designed in such a simple way, but that really lets you focus on enjoying the game. And the thing that really surprised me was how good the Piston Cup is, where you're racing around NASCAR-style Daytona tracks. And I would go so far as to say that the NASCAR-style experience in Cars is better than any NASCAR game I've played on a Game Boy console. As a matter of fact, I just wish they'd make a NASCAR game that took this style of gameplay. Cars was such a good game that as soon as I played it, I just knew I had to own the physical copy. And it's so cheap, I even managed to get a decent box copy as well. If you love Disney games and want to try a racing game with a little bit of a twist, definitely check out Cars on the GBA. Next up is another game I introduced myself through the Mii U Mini, and that is Mario Golf Advance Tour. I've always been a huge fan of golf games, specifically the Tiger Woods type of games, but as I started exploring some of the older golf titles, I realized I just love all golf games in general. There's just something so relaxing and fun about them. But a game that shines through all of them and brings in an amazing RPG twist is Mario Golf Advance Tour. When I started playing this, I expected to just have some fun top-down golf action, with that extra fun twist of Mario thrown in there. But what I didn't expect was how fun and exciting the RPG element elements of this would be. Golf games are great, but you usually just go from one game to the next. With Mario Golf Advanced Tour, you have a story and a whole little world to explore as well, as you try to become the best golfer around. The game that this instantly reminds me of is Golf Story. And maybe it's a bit unfair to say that Advanced Tour reminds me of Golf Story, because Golf Story came out after Advanced Tour, but I can almost definitely say that Golf Story must have taken its ideas from Advanced Tour, which explains why I enjoyed Golf Story so much. Mario Golf Advanced Tour is just a brilliant mix of golfing, RPG, and that amazing quality that Nintendo can bring. No part of this game feels unnatural or just shoot in. The golfing game feels absolutely brilliant and so much fun, and then when you're navigating around in the RPG world and following the story, it just blends so seamlessly and so wonderfully, and gives you a real reason to try and take on the challenges of these different courses. Gives you a real reason to try to become the best golfer you can be. I did say that these games would come in no particular order, but Mario Golf Advanced Tour might just be my favorite GBA game right now. And once again, if you haven't got it already, it's not difficult to find and it's not super expensive. Now, if you've enjoyed this episode, let me know. And if you want to check out how the 30-day Game Boy Advance challenge is going, then follow me on Instagram and follow the YouTube posts as well. And if you want, join in as well. I've said to everybody, anyone that's joining in wants to send me pictures or videos, I will include them in the final video that I do of the challenge. If that sounds interesting to you, then why not check out the 30-day Game Boy challenge I did a couple of years ago.